I don't even know how I feel about this. In the CN version of the game, Beck and Theon have been announced as the new characters, and their designs are pretty okay. I kinda like the way how Beck looks, I guess, but Theon just seems kinda whatever. But their Echo of Light skins are actually pretty sick. But first, let's go take a look at what they can do. Beck actually might seem a pretty ridiculous character. He's part of the Empire, Dark, and Mythical faction. His talent allows him to have an extra range, but at 6 stars, he can have 2 extra range. When his health is over 70%, his damage dealt is increased. If an ally triggers a single target battle, I'm gonna assume, then Leo will deal fixed damage to a max of 2 times of his own int when he's at 6 stars. For one of his unique skills, he has this one where it just attacks one enemy, but if they have a damage taken reduction buff on them, then this skill will do 30% more damage, so it basically just ignores that effect essentially. Now with this skill right here, oh man, it's good. Now with this first sentence, it may not be entirely right since most of the texts are translated, but its cooldown is reduced by 2 for every enemy defeated in battle. You can use the skill to give your teammates a buff called Contract, which will basically give them a revive effect that lasts for 2 turns. If that teammate does end up triggering the revive, then they won't be allowed to get it again. And by the way, this cannot be immunized or be dispelled. So if an ally has this contract buff, then Leo will lose 10% of his own HP every turn. You can only use the skill up to 3 times, but that's pretty fair considering how insane this skill really is. Now it's 3C. It has a passive that inflicts internal flame on an enemy before using a ranged skill to deal damage. When you enter a battle with allies and enemies who have contract, you will inflict fixed damage from his talent, and when a target dies, Leo gains a 2% increase to his stats, which can be stacked up to 5 times for a total of 10% stats increase. The meditation thing, I'm not really sure what that's all about, but I'm gonna assume that it's talking about the internal flame effect, but who knows. This 3C is also an AoE skill that deals 0.4 times magic damage that converts 2 buffs into 2 random debuffs on the enemies. This guy is actually pretty amazing. He can function pretty well for both PvE and PvP content. In PvE, he'll be good all around as an attacker and for his revive as well. In PvP, it's great as well, but one thing you're gonna have to note is that this has a 5-turn cooldown, and even if they do get revived, they'll only recover 1% of their own HP. Even if they get killed off, they can easily be killed off again by like fixed damage or by someone who can prevent revive effects like Zerida 2.0. So yeah, those things are what you're gonna have to watch out for because this revive effect can be counterable. But let's say if he's paired up with someone like Vincent, he can deal damage with his AoE when he dies and with his 3C. It lets him revive again, making him pretty annoying with the death AoE effect, and so with his contract buff, it'll make Vincent even more difficult to deal with. You will need him to be at 6 stars to make better use of his range if you plan on using him for PvP. I would say overall, not a really bad character. There's just quite a lot of pros and cons when it comes to using his kits. The second character is Theon, and he's voiced by none other than Yuki Kaiji. Man, I love this guy. Probably one of my favorite Japanese voice actor out there, but that's beside the point. He's part of the Origin, Media, and Strategy faction. His talent increases his crit rate and crit damage by 25% at 6 stars. He inflicts 1 lasting effect when he deals damage to an enemy, which will at the end of the enemy's turn. They receive fixed damage for 0.5 times of Theon's attack, which can be stacked up to 5 times that lasts for 2 turns. And when using a straight line skill, he applies a special terrain called Spinning Blade at the furthest grid that lasts for 2 turns. When an enemy moves within 1 ring of this terrain, they take fixed damage for 1 time of his own attack. When he ends his turn, if there's a Spinning Blade terrain active, then he can bring it back to him in a certain direction that can damage the enemies, dealing 0.15 times of his attack at 6 stars. And will also inflict them with damage taken increased by 40%. You can only use this for every 3 turns at 3 stars, 2 turns at 4 and 5 stars, then at 6 stars, you will need to wait 1 turn to use this again. These AoE skills here is what you're going to be using with his talent AoE. This one right here is a line skill that reaches up to 7 blocks long, but at the furthest grid of it, you can move it either up or down that deals 0.2 times physical damage. His second skill is also an AoE that attacks in a straight line dealing 0.25 times physical damage. Then it will apply a stack of laceration to enemies that were hit by this. Then he is able to teleport to any defensive terrain within 2 blocks of him. Finally, his 3C has a passive where if his AoE line skill hits 3 or more enemies, then the enemies gain another stack of laceration. This 3C attacks in 3 straight line wide but 6 blocks long. It increases crit chance by 30% that deals 0.3 times physical damage that will give enemies a random debuff if they have 3 or more stacks of laceration. It also reduces their attack and int by 25% for 2 turns and is able to move 3 blocks right after. Not gonna cap to you guys, he seems like a really fun character to use. But the only problem is his mobility, and I feel like he would perform better if he's in a AoE team. But his main issue is just his mobility. Other than that, I don't really see any problems with this guy, hopefully. Also, he will need Julian for his toughness bonds, but if you guys are planning on getting Theon after all and maxing him out, you don't have to really worry about getting Julian right now if you're worried about that. Julian does end up returning in that month time period that they actually do come out. 2 more soldiers also got released as well, which are really good. The first one is called Ghost in the Mist. They do magic damage, and when actively attacking, their attack is increased by 30%, but when being attacked, physical damage is reduced by 15%, and if they are killed after battle, they are able to heal 45% of their own HP. Then the second one are called Arc Assassins. Their attack increases by 15%, crit chance increases by 30%, and crit damage will increase by 20% when fighting enemies with HP less than 100%. I really like them a lot. I'm actually really surprised that they didn't make one that's just straight up garbage or just like underwhelming. But that means we got 6 more soldiers yet to be revealed. And I'm actually really looking forward to them. I'm actually really excited about that because the last 2 were pretty good, and then these 2 are not bad as well. 2 new exclusive equipment will be coming as always, one of which is for the Wandering Duelist, which is an armor that gives 10% defense, and when entering battle, if the target has the Revenge chain, or in global, it'd be Chain of Vengeance, their damage taken is reduced by 20% more. Now, I'm not sure what this active attack reduced by 30%. It kinda scares me. I just hope that it's just a mistranslation and not an actual thing, because otherwise this might not be good like at all. Then the second equipment is for Lucretia, which is a helmet that gives 10% HP. After her golem takes action, it dispels 1 debuff and gains 1 random buff for Lucretia, I'm pretty sure. The golem will also attack first and will do 30% more damage when Lucretia is killed off. A really solid one to have. Meanwhile, the concerning one is the Wandering Duelist, which I'm hoping the active attack reduced by 30%. I just hope that it doesn't have that, because that would just be ridiculous if it's actually a thing. As for the new casting skills, and if you guys don't know what these are yet, these are like special unique passive skills that each character will have from the new daily stages that recently came out from the 3rd anniversary. You get these materials which will make your characters a bit more stronger, then eventually you'll be able to unlock their casting skills. Anyways though, the first one we got is for Bozo, which will increase his defense and magic defense by 5% and when attacking enemy with 2 or more debuffs. His defense and magic defense are increased by 10%. Second one is for Silver Wolf, which will increase his attack by 5% and when entering battle with an enemy that does not have any buffs, they receive fixed damage for 1.5 times of his own attack. Third one is for Shelfaniel, which will increase her int by 5% and if her AoEs hit 3 or more enemies. She then dispels 1 debuff and gains damage taken reduced by 15% for 1 turn. Fourth one is for Young Jessica, which also increases her int by 5% and when she hits allies with her, I'm pretty sure it's her Breath of the Goddess skill. The cooldown of the skill is reduced by 1 for every ally that were hit by this up to 3 turns. Bozo is actually really nice. It makes him a bit more tankier and is able to do a bit more damage. Shelfaniel is really great as well since she can constantly spam her AoEs to get that buff and is able to dispel the enemy's buff as well. In my opinion, I'd say those 2 really got the most benefits out of the other 2. There's a new building you can make in a floating city called Glow Plaza, and you will need to be level 13 in the city hall to be able to make this. What it does is that it increases the number of times you can do the continuous battle by 2 every time you upgrade it. The level cap is at 5, so that means you get 10 more for a max total of 30 continuous battle. It's a really nice building to have so that you can farm the Anarchy for more materials as well as the new daily stage in CN as well. And I know there are some people that farm the dragon as well for more equipment, so that's also a thing that people does as well. Also, if you guys are curious about the new skins, I was only able to find 3 of them. The first 2 being Leo and Theon's Echo of Light skins, and they look really cool, especially Theon's. The man is literally a Gundam character, which I never seen the anime, but all I know is that it looks really cool. As for the Macho Lotto skin, it's just gonna be for Gustav, which is another character I forgot even existed. Cause I know she has this special mechanics where she can increase the enemy's skill cooldown by quite a bit. But anyways though, that's all I got for you guys. Feel free to let me know down in the comments what you guys think about the new characters and everything that's dropping in CN. I feel like Leo Beck is definitely the most interesting out of everything so far, but for me, I'm actually more interested in Theon, if I'm gonna be honest here, because he just seems pretty fun to use. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like and subscribe if you want to see more, and yeah, thanks for watching. Your fellow Z.